Thank you for tuning into the Sisters Talk podcast. I'm your host, Dannie M.
Hi, I'm your co-host, Aisya Carroll. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have a special guest, Mr. Bashir Akinyele. I'm sorry.
Akinyele. All right.
He is here today to speak with us about his journey. He teaches African American studies in Newark, New Jersey, and he's going to educate us and give us more information today on how we can learn about our real history. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm honored. I'm so honored. Yes, I'm so honored. Round of applause for you sisters. I'm sorry. For you sisters, you queens. I am so honored. I'm humbled and honored to be a guest today on this powerful podcast led by, created by, organized by, and owned by Black women. That's all right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I know that you have a lot in store. Sorry, Aisya, but I was going to say you had a lot of people and they're already commenting. So let's read some comments. Oh, hello, Shay.
Thank you for joining today.
You have a lot of people who are waiting on you to spill some real, unfiltered, unadulterated truth.
Okay.
Aisya, I'm passing the torch back to you.
All right. So I want to know, how did you get started in regards to bringing African American studies to the school district? And when did it start for you, like the timeline, when it started, and then when they actually embraced your curriculum?
All right, no problem. All right. But let me first begin by, paying giving thanks and honor to the Creator, all right, of the heavens and earth, a Creator that is called by many ancient names in this world, such as Yahweh, God, Allah, Dios, Oludumare. But the oldest name for the Creator in human history is Amun-Ra. This word, Amun-Ra, for the Creator of the heavens and the earth, comes from the African Nile Valley civilization called Ancient Kemet, known to the world as Egypt. All right. Amun-Ra Amun-Ra comes from the world's first writing system. The word itself, Amun-Ra, comes from the world's first writing system called the Medu Neter. All right. Medu Neter. Europeans and Arabs call it the hieroglyphics. Amun-Ra means the hidden one, the unseen one, the prime mover of the universe and all living things. All right. Now, family, sisters talk. All right. The audience. Now that might be too deep for some people, but this is Black History Month. All right. The world and Black people must know our contributions to all human civilizations and religions. And we as Black people have contributed greatly to all human societies and all faith traditions on the planet Earth. All right. Let me say that one more time. We as Black people have contributed greatly to all human societies and all faith traditions on the entire planet Earth. All right. African faith traditions were the first to organize beliefs in the existence and oneness of God, believe it or not. Right. Unfortunately, white supremacy has taught us what? That Black people didn't believe in God, that we had no concept of the oneness of God, that we had no God conscious. All right. So teaches a European philosopher by the name of George Frederick Hegel, in his book Philosophy of History. You can go check that out, family. All right. He said these things. And by the way, he's the author. He's considered the father of white supremacy in Europe, by the way. All right. George Frederick, or you want to say it in German, Frederick Hegel. All right. So we need to be clear on that. All right. Our faith traditions, particularly our faith traditions coming from Kemet, were respected so much by all Abrahamic faith traditions that they pay homage to our ancient beliefs in Amun-Ra by ending their prayers with Amen. You know how you go to church, right? And the pastor says, Amen, right? Say Amen, right? Say it again, right? You may say Amen, right? Or Amen, right? Some Christians say Amen, some Christians say Amen, right? But at the end of all our prayers, we say Amen. We have no idea that we're paying homage, right, to the creator that our ancestors, all right, believe was the supreme being in the world. All right. Amen. Jews, our Jewish brothers and sisters in their prayers with Amen. Our Muslim brothers and sisters in their prayers with Amen, paying homage and tribute to Amen. A lot of us think that it just means so be it, but it doesn't mean that. It's a little deeper than that. All right. But as our Black nationalist freedom fighter taught us, the great Malcolm X, Omawali El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, right? We must put aside our religious differences that divides our African world to come together as one united African people. Therefore, I say that regardless of land, language, and culture, there is but one God. Secondly, I pay homage to all respected family, community, ancestors by saying Ibaye, Ashe. The words Ibaye, Ashe are two Yoruba words. Ibaye means blessings to the ancestors. Ashe means it is so. All right. These are real African words. All right. Now, because we as Black people are from many walks of life and political ideologies on the globe, I greet you all with the Pan-African greetings of Black power, all power to the people. Stop the shooting, stop the killing, stop the violence, peace in the streets, no justice, no peace. Yahoo, that means freedom. That's Kiswahili for freedom. Free land, viva la revolucion, a luta continua, all right? Viva la revolucion is Spanish for long live the revolution, and a luta continua is Portuguese, that means the struggle continues. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Assalamu alaikum. Shea alafia ni, that's Yoruba for peace be unto you. Shea alafia ni, amanla, that's Zulu for free, for power, for power. Amanla means power, all right? You may have seen when Nelson Mandela was alive and when he used to speak, he used to say, amanla, all right? Some of us didn't know what the hell he was talking about, right? All right? But amanla is a Zulu African word that means power, right? What's cracking? What's popping? What's up? Hotep. Now, come on, we're an African people. All right, we're an African people we come from a tradition of call and response. Therefore, when I say Hotep, I need you to say Hotep. So let's start. Hotep.
Hotep. Hotep.
All right, Hotep.
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 All right, Hotep. All right. Now, I'm starting off my speech with the word Hotep, saying Hotep is an African-centered greeting that offers peace to someone or to the masses of people. It is an African Kemetic Egyptian word for peace. The word peace is the oldest written word for peace in human history. Remember, this is Black History Month, y'all. All right, we're not playing. We are not playing with this. We're going to the root. All right, we go into history before slavery. All right.
Yes.
Before colonialism, before apartheid, before the domination of Europeans and Arabs in the African world. Okay, so we're going deep today. We're going deep. All right, family. It predates the word Hotep predates the Hebrew word shalom for peace and the Arabic word salam for peace. Thousands of years ago, African people in Kemet used Hotep to offer peace in the secular world, but they also offered peace. They also offered Hotep peace to people entering the spiritual realm, thus making the word Hotep a secular and spiritual word for peace. Hotep was found in the world's first writing system called the Medu Neter, which Europeans and Arabs and everybody else in the world call what? The hieroglyphics. All right. Kemetic people called their system of writing Medu Neter, but the invading Europeans and Arabs changed the African name of the Medu Neter to hieroglyphics. All this great and awesome world history are the missing pages of African history and culture. Let me say that one more time, sisters. All this great and awesome world history are the missing pages of African and world history. All right. And that's by a brother by the name of Dr. Clark, Dr. John Henry Clark. We're going to come back to Dr. Clark. All right. But he was a great revolutionary, African revolutionary, Africana studies and Pan-Africanist, right? So this leads me to the quote by Amilcar Cabral, a great African revolutionary. He said, "Culture is a weapon in the face of our enemies." Brother Cabral spent his activist life fighting against the European colonial domination of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde in Africa until he was assassinated by the Portuguese in 1973. He understood that the path of Black liberation starts with the knowledge of self. All right. Beautiful segue to our topic, right? You know, developing an African-centered worldview for Black liberation. So you asked me, sister, you said, when did I get involved with the Amistad Movement? I got involved with the Amistad Movement when I graduated from Seton Hall University in 1993. Okay. That's when I got involved with the Amistad Movement, because even though there was no law, there was nothing written on paper about the Amistad just led. That didn't come until years later, 2002. We're going to come back to that. But I believe that we needed to incorporate our history in the world, in the American and world history curriculum, right? So I didn't wait for the government. You know, I just started. You know, I mean, I graduated with my undergraduate degree from Seton Hall, and I started teaching, you know, right, 1993, my first teaching job, straight out of college. From that point all the way on to when Amistad was, you know, officially brought into the Newark Public Schools, which was actually last year, 2020, right? I was doing that, but we were organizing all the while. We were advocating in the streets, in the community, in town hall meetings, at board education meetings, at city council meetings, any elected official we can get our hands on. We were like, you have to include our history in the American and world history curriculum, because again, we represent the missing pages of what? American and world history. All right.
Absolutely.
You can't teach American and world history. I mean, let me break it down. You can't teach really American, world history, Caribbean history, Asian history, what they call Middle Eastern history, right? European history, right? You cannot teach any of this stuff without the history of Black people.
I agree. Absolutely.
Right.
We're sprinkled throughout world history inclusively. I mean, it's just no way around it. But the thing is, you know, everything has only, I'll say, when I say everything, I'm talking about all of the history books that I've ever read, both in high school, throughout college, only highlighted the great things that the Caucasian race has done. Right. It rarely highlights what African American or Black people around the globe have done. Right. And if it does, it repetitively shows and highlights the same figures in this country that I've noticed. Now, in other countries, they expose their children to more transparent truth. But here, they like to keep that information tucked away, and you'll have to go searching in some outdated library somewhere to find it.
Absolutely. And there's a reason for that. You know, remember, you know, we're still an oppressed people. So, one of the ways to keep us oppressed is to hide our history from us and the world. All right. But in particular, us. All right. You know, and if we do teach history, we're just going to begin with slavery, right? We're going to begin, it's going to be slavery, a little bit of Harriet Tubman, maybe, a little bit of Frederick Douglass, maybe, right? Then it's going to move all the way forward to Dr. King. And that's it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm serious. It's you know, and I'm like,
maybe wow, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. What's the other man who picked the peanuts? Mr.
Carter G. Woodson.
Washington Carver.
There you go, Washington Carver.
Right, Dr.
You know, people like that. We keep talking about these same people, and they never talk about the people who invented other great things. I mean, you know, like I've said many times before, Aisya can attest, when we have other people on the show, I'm like, look, all the everyday luxuries that you have access to, the hairbrush, the refrigerator, you know, I can go down a whole list of things actually.
Gary Morgan created the traffic light that we see every day, all around the country and all around the
trains.
World.
The trains have to obey lights. The cars have to obey these lights. It's our way of life. Right. You know, so I mean, it's
right. That's to keep us again, to keep us from the knowledge of self. See, once you develop a knowledge of self, right? We'll talk about this, I guess, a little later extensively. But once you develop the knowledge of self, there's a level of Black pride right? Black dignity that comes into, right? Direction, right? Purpose. You know, like in the Nguzo Saba, right? The Kwanzaa 7 principles of Kwanzaa is called Nguzo Saba, right? 7 principles of Kwanzaa. One of the principles is Nia, purpose, right? Knowing our history gives us purpose, right? So when we walk into, let's say, I'm gonna use an example. When we walk into Congress, all right, you know that our purpose is to what? Help our people. We know that. Oh, we're gonna help we're gonna do what we can, what we need to do to help the United States. But at the same time, right, we're there to help Black people in this country. And some of us forget that purpose. You see, that's why right now, I'm gonna add a little politics to it. Right now, right, all due respect to Biden and Kamala Harris administration, our issues are kind of been placed on the back burner. We're not talking about defund the police no more. And I know some people take controversy with that. All right. Now they're saying we got to rename it something else, not defund the police. No, got to call it something else, right? And then the hot burning issue nobody want to deal with, reparations.
Yes,
right. That's been my go-to thing from the beginning, and I've offended quite a few people, and it's okay because it's my opinion. It's not so much about her being Black. I honestly don't care what color you are. I've always been the type of person. I don't have any restrictions on the way I care, respect, and interact with people based on the color of their skin. And I wish other people would take that same attribute that I have. But I digress. But moving forward, I would say this: it's more to it than her just being a Black woman or a woman of color, or however you want to classify her.
Absolutely.
And also with Biden, it's more to him than just representing the Democratic Party. Because for me, I could care less what party you represent. All I truly care about is, are you going to have the type of conversations necessary with the governing entity that makes law to make everything fair for everyone that lives here? We're all paying taxes. We're all working. And so we all should be treated at the very least with respect.
But particularly Black people, we've been and Black women. Remember, Malcolm taught us what? He said that the most unprotected and disrespected woman on planet Earth is the Black woman. That's what Brother Malcolm, Omowale El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Black nationalist freedom fighter, human rights activist, taught us. We forget that.
Please say that again. I don't understand that.
Brother Minister Malcolm X, Omowale El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Black nationalist freedom fighter and human rights activist, right, of the 1950s and 60s, said to the world that the most unprotected and disrespected woman on the planet Earth is the Black woman. That is absolutely historically factual. Absolutely.
And it still applies today. It still applies today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Black woman is.
And how many years ago was that? And that just shows you how far we've come.
Absolutely. Right. And so, I respect Kamala Harris as a Black woman, as a Black woman, as a woman of South Asian descent, no doubt. But I'm like you. The two queens, we got to go. We also have to look beyond that. Okay, what are you going to do for Black people? Now, and here's the thing. With that, I reference purpose, and I'm a history teacher, so I got to reference history constantly. All right, because what we stand on today is what has been built on yesterday. Right. We had a brother in Congress who understood purpose before he was even put together by Dr. Malana Karinga, who created Kwanzaa, right? His name was Adam Clayton Powell Jr., right? And when he got into Congress, he was clear that, okay, we're going to do what we can to help the country, but at the same time, I got to help my people. And he always created, right, legislation, right? I'm going to say that one more time. He always created legislation that would benefit Black people. For example, he created the Powell Amendment, and the Powell Amendment denied federal funds to schools that discriminated against Black people. You see, he understood. Right. All right. Unfortunately, we've what's the word I'm looking for? We have strayed away from that. All right. We think it's about us now. All right. I saw U.S. Congressman James Clyburn, I think that's his name, right? From South Carolina. He's the one that helped Joe Biden win the primaries, and he helped him win the national elections against Donald Trump. How? Because he went to black people, right? He understood the significance of the black vote, and he convinced masses of black people in the South and around the country, but in the South, to vote for Joe Biden, right? Right. So when he was asked by George Stephanopoulos, the news talk show host on ABC's Good Morning America, he was asked, "Well, you helped Biden win the presidency with the black vote. In return, what do you want?" You know what he said? "I don't want nothing." Can you believe I posted that up. I posted that interview up on social media, right? I said, "Huh?" I said, wait a minute. That's not the science of politics. The science of politics is this, y'all. Right? Folks help people get in, and once they get in, in return, they help the people that got them in. Right? It's called quid pro quo. Right? Mm-hmm. So we help these people get into office. We help them defeat the white supremacist Donald Trump. Right? And rightly so. We had to get him out of here, no doubt. But okay, we helped you get into office, but in return now, all right, what are you going to do for black people? Now, I see that he signed a legislation for everybody else, and rightly so. Our immigrant brothers and sisters, he's signing new policies for immigrants, for DACA, making, clearing the pathway for citizenship, right? No doubt, that's on point. Muslim ban is going to be lifted. Okay, that's great. But what about black people? The very people that built this country, blood, sweat, and tears. No, literally. Blood, sweat, tears, and our very lives. All right. We built this country. Right. So what in return do we get? Mm-hmm. It's really sad. It's really sad.
And let me interject really quick. I don't mean to cut you off because you're really hitting home with this, and I want you to get back on track. But oftentimes, and even myself, when I hear black people say, "Oh, they don't do anything for us." Okay, so there is so many different ways we can look at this when we make that statement, right? And what I believe, Bashir, what you're saying is that we need to create legislation that's going to be fair to Africans, black people in general in this nation, and really pay us back for what has happened. And granted, now some black people will say on the side of reparations, because we just mentioned that, oh, what do you need reparations for? You weren't a slave, so why would you get paid? However, our ancestors were, and we're a part of that DNA lineage. So why wouldn't we be entitled to what was supposed to be paid out to us anyway? We don't do labor for free. Slavery never should have existed, but yet it did. And so in order to be compensated, there's a lot of people in Asia. You talked about this on one of our shows not too long ago, one of our King's Edition. Asia made a very valid point to me that stuck with me, that some, and I say some because there's some African American people that are super well off and they have no issues. But there's some of us who are making six figures, and it's not gonna spin, or it's not gonna be enjoyed, I guess, the same way as someone who has that generational wealth that's making that same six figures. And so that alone should clear up the miscommunication or misunderstanding of those who believe that we shouldn't get paid reparations, because there's some of us, maybe unlike those that are saying, oh, don't worry about it. Well, then you don't take the payment, but allow the people who need it so that they can build a solid foundation, because a lot of people's foundations aren't really solid just yet, because it takes years, it takes generations to be able to sit back and let your grandkids not go to work when they turn 18. A lot of black homes, a lot of black communities are kicking their kids out at 16 years of age just so that they can be on their own, because they can't afford taking care of them anymore. So I think that we need, as a people, to be a little more sensitive to the topic and be more, I guess, just 360 in our thinking about our situations, because now we're at 2021, right? So you have you have black millionaires, you may even have a couple of black billionaires at this point, and then you have the rest of us who are average income workers. Whether you're making six figures or not, you're not making $500,000 or more. So that's almost equivalent to, if you lose your job tomorrow, well, you may have 6 months of pay left, and then now you gotta figure it out. So I think that we should think clearly before we speak towards or against reparations. You know, what do you think?
I think too, to your point, Danny, is that a lot of people don't realize most Black people aren't homeowners. Homeownership is the number one source.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to say the number one. It's one of the most sources in this country that allows people to have generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a grandparent who has a home, they pay that mortgage off in 30 years, typically saying 30 years.
Right.
3 generations down the line, no one needs to pay rent, mortgage, or anything. All you're worrying about paying now is taxes.
That's right.
And as a result, 60 years of not worrying about paying for a mortgage, 60 years of not paying a mortgage, that alone right there is the type of wealth we do not have in our community.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, we on social media, Black people today who can afford to buy a home, we posting up videos. I bought a home in 20. This is 20. We talking about 2020, 2021. I mean, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But it speaks to the disparities of wealth in this country. See, we're on a sisters platform. Let's give honor and praise and privilege to the mother of the reparations movement. Yes, mother, Black woman who initiated the reparations movement in America. It is sad that many people don't even know this, including our ADOS brothers and sisters. But her name was Queen Mother Moore. Let me say her name one more time. Queen Mother Moore. All right. And that family, all right, that sister was on point. She struggled until she was called on home by the Creator, right? Called on to the ancestor realm. But she always, and she talked about other, she addressed, she was organizing against other issues going on in the Black community. But her main issue was supporting reparations. Queen Mother Moore, Ashe, Ibaye Ashe, to our sister, Queen Mother Moore. But yes, I mean, there was a brother, just 2019. You may know his name, and I'm gonna say his name both ways because some people pronounce it 2 different ways. So I'm gonna say his name both ways. Some people pronounce his name Ta-Nehisi, and some people pronounce his name Ta-Nehisi Coates. All right, and Brother Coates is a one of the world's famous writers. Right, he just had a beautiful, I don't want to call it a documentary, but it was sort of like a documentary, but it was more like it was like an artistic form, right? From his book. I mean, they took his book and they made it kind of a documentary, right? And oh man, I gotta remember the name of his book, but it just broadcast on HBO. But in 2019, Ta-Nehisi Coates was asked to speak on Capitol Hill. It happened on Juneteenth, right? Since it's Black History Month, Juneteenth is when we celebrate the liberation of Black people from slavery in Texas, right? We honor those ancestors. We honored them by celebrating Juneteenth because remember, the white man did not
right there in Galveston, Texas, like an hour away from Houston. Yes.
Wow. Did not tell them that they were free for 2 years.
Yep.
Nearly 3 years. They were worked as enslaved Black people in Texas, right? So we honor those ancestors by celebrating Juneteenth. Many Black people didn't know we had another holiday other than Kwanzaa. No. Yes.
That's true. Yeah.
We have other holidays.
2019, I think 2018, that's when I found out.
Right. But let me say this to your listening audience. We have several holidays, all right? One of them is Juneteenth. But anyway, Brother Coates was asked to speak on the issue of reparations. Did an eloquent job. He talked about the disparities of wealth in this country, right? Between Black people and white people, right? He talked about it, right? He wrote an essay called The Case for Reparations. It was published in The Atlantic. You can go read it for yourself, right? Powerful piece arguing for reparations in this country. Now you had him, right? I'm talking about somebody that white folks respect, okay? Talking about reparations. You have Michael Smith, the richest Black man in the country. He's a billionaire. He's the one that paid for the Morehouse students. Yeah. Morehouse student debt, right? He paid for everybody's debt, right? Yes. Wrote it off, right? He said we need reparations. The brother that created BET, Robert Johnson, he talked about we need reparations, right? And then there's so many other brothers and sisters in between, right? So many others who have been arguing for reparations, especially this past summer when our brother George Floyd was murdered. Unfortunately, was murdered by the Minneapolis Police Department. It just kicked up a notch.
Yeah,
everybody was talking about, well, how do we rectify all these disparities? And it was talk about it. I mean, strong talk. Even the candidates that were running for president, they were asked, "Do you support reparations?" Yes, I support reparations. I mean, on down the line. I'm waffled though. Sanders waffle. Joe Biden waffle. Even his running mate waffle. But you had candidates, at least on a national level, talking about they stand on reparations. All right. So, we're not making up some crazy. It's not crazy talk. It's not some black nationalist or some Afrocentric conspiracy theory. They try to write some of us off like that.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with
every day.
Oh, please take me off the list. I'm okay.
Here's my thing to our own people, though. Stop when we're in a situation where we can move forward economically. Don't slow us down. So many people need it. The world still thinks in this country that there's more blacks on welfare than there are whites. That's incorrect and it's false. It don't hit me with the narrative that just because there's more whites, that's the reason why. It doesn't matter. A fact is a fact is a fact. There's still more Caucasians on welfare than there are blacks. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that there's not more blacks in poverty than there are whites. So sit and think about that. So that's my point. So let's stop being self-destructive. Let's collectively think in one unit to move forward economically so that we can build, solid foundations for ourselves and for our future generations. Like, you can't just think about you right now.
Absolutely.
What about your great-grandchildren? You don't want them to relive this same thing. And it's just like one of the listeners said earlier, I think it came from Shay Joy. She says that Mr. Bashir is literally, in a sense, repeating his words. It's crazy how our history keeps going in circles, and I 100% agree with that.
Right, absolutely.
So
and
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make a note that Brother Coates' book is called Between the World and Me. And if you really want to know the data on reparations, the name of the site is called the Brookings Institute. All right, they have done 2 great pieces on the need for reparations reparations in the black community, because it will rectify, I'm talking about generations, right?
Exactly.
Of social economic disparities.
Yes.
Right? I'm talking about this stuff started in slavery and segregation. We forget that.
Yes.
Right? 250 years of American slavery, nearly 100 years of segregation created this mess we entered. That's why, Sister Aisya, when you talk about we don't have that wealth, yes. Like we do fundraisers in the grassroots community, and folks are looking around like, they just asked for $100. I don't have $100. I only have enough money for my family, myself. And my family. If I even have $100, we trying to scrape 2 nickels together. We can't even give to our own organization because we don't have that generational wealth that other folk have.
And I want to make this point that I saw this video, and forgive me, I don't know the man's name that did the video, but it was impactful. And he made a video, and actually it was a preacher, and he said he just started naming off all these brands.
Right.
Bank of America.
Yep.
Aetna.
Yep.
Jordan. Yep. I'm sorry, not Jordan. Bank of America, Aetna, Nike.
Tiffany's.
It was like
I'm gonna do you one better.
Companies. But
I'm gonna do you one better. Not the country. I'm gonna do you one better. Do you know it's on record that we built Harvard, Brown, Dartmouth, Rutgers University?
Oh yeah.
Right? And we trying to again scrape 2 nickels and send our children to school when school should be free for black people.
Agreed. Say that again.
But
can you write a letter to the administration and telling them that so that everybody that has student loan debt, it can just be eradicated at this point?
They're trying to get rid of student loan debts for everybody. Not
I was going to be specific though. Going along with the reparations, okay, if you don't want to give reparations like you've done every other foreign American citizen, because they have is documented, then at least for the people who did decide to go one step further, help us out. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not just speaking for myself. There's probably millions of people in this situation. So it's just like what you said earlier, like we have so many issues. It's so many burning fires. Which one do we try to, put it out first?
Sister Aisya was, I didn't mean to cut her off. I'm so sorry, sister. I just had
I know, because I took it somewhere else.
When you were naming those companies, it just hit the colleges popped up in my head.
Companies was because all these companies have created generational wealth for their families.
Yep. Absolutely.
These companies have been established for centuries, for years, over and over and over and over again, where they have this generational wealth that's going forward to their families. How many Black-owned companies have lasted from the early 1900s to now, and that are still making millions and millions and millions of dollars? I can't think of one. And so that's the point in regards to why reparations is needed in our community. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I was taught as a Black woman, single, don't buy a house. What do you look like buying a house? That's a debt. It's a liability. I'm taught it's a liability and not an asset. And so that is how we are kept down. That's how we're not taught about how to build the assets. I didn't buy a house until 2015. I'm so far behind. I'm so far behind because of how we're taught. We're not taught about how we can create these generational wealth for, and then not to mention there's redlining where we weren't even allowed to purchase homes for decades because of redlining and because banks said you cannot lend to Black people.
Again.
And see, and that kind of, not to cut you off, Mr. Bashir, but just to echo you, Aisya, that's the reason why we weren't taught. Because you think about all this, holding back and just, no, you can't do this. You can't read. Okay, now it goes from you can't read to you can't share the same library. You can't, share the same facility, just schools even. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, like you said, Bashir, so many different levels of disparities. You don't know which flame to put out. So we wonder why, but the answer lies in because we weren't allowed. And that's very embarrassing to even say as a grown Black woman. Our ancestors and people before us were not allowed. And so therefore they didn't know because they didn't have the freedom to learn. So you can't pass down information that you simply don't know.
Absolutely. This is Black History Month. We coming back. This is still relevant. I know folks like, that's what we talk about Black history. This is Black history.
This is Black history, right?
This is a part of Black history that some of us don't want to deal with. All right. Sometimes we like the feel good aspects of Black history, but we don't want to deal with the we're not, as sisters talk, we're not tiptoeing around anything. We address it head on, transparently. Well, I mean, but you talked about redlining. This is something that even our brother Coates, when he came to Capitol Hill on Juneteenth, 2019, he talked about redlining. All right. He talked about how we were denied homes in certain neighborhoods because of the color of our skin. This happened for decades. This is a real, even when Black people say, you know what, fine. Y'all want to discriminate against us? Fine, no problem. We're going to build our own. That still wasn't good enough. They burnt.
No. Let me correct you, sir. It was excellent and it was too good. That's the reason why.
We burnt down, not we, but the, racist white people burnt down Black Wall Street, right? The most thriving Black community in America, right? Burnt it down in 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can go, folks, y'all can go. You can actually go see the documentaries. They have them all on YouTube. All right. If you think Brother Bashir crazy, all right, because I told you to try to write us off.
Absolutely like not.
We Afrocentric, right? We Afrocentric conspiracy Hotep. They use the word Hotep in the wrong way now to disrespect our culture. They say, oh, he's one of them Hoteps. All right. No, it's got nothing to do with that. These are historical facts.
Right.
You can go check it out. They burnt down Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Which was also called Black Wall Street. They burnt down Rosewood, Florida. There's an old movie about it, starring Ving Rhames. All right, it came out some years ago, but you can watch it with your family and see that Black people were thriving. We were thriving. We had our own, we were building our own wealth despite racism. You see,
exactly,
and it still wasn't good enough. They burnt it to the ground.
We're minding our business. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That goes to show every time we do get a certain way where we're making a step into the right direction, we're torn down even more. And that alone, like, how can they not understand the level of disparities and we still survive?
Right.
And I want to take us to a different direction with it, not to interject too soon, but I just want to say this, and something I've been kind of thinking about for weeks now is they don't need to understand. We don't need to make anyone understand anything. What we have to start doing, in my opinion, is to support each other. There's a lot of Black businesses now. We need to support each other. And Black business owners, you need to learn quickly how to do good business. That's just the bottom line. Because we're very sensitive people, and I'm just being real. I think a lot of people that's watching this show today can attest to that. We're very sensitive. We're used to having things in a certain way. We have been the consumers since the beginning of time, since we were allowed to consume. You know what I mean? And I think that if we were to parallel the Black business owner getting really good training from my fellow Black millionaires, billionaires, or people who just know exactly what they're doing, and Black people, if you guys can learn to be kind to each other and actually support each other, I think that we will have a chance, at really building that financial foundation that I keep echoing and talking to, whether or not this nation's government decides to pay us what we're owed. You see where I'm going with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, you're right. We got to do for ourselves. And many people came before us teaching us to do for ourselves. Yes, we must make the government accountable to our community, but at the same time, we have to do for ourselves. We can't depend totally on the government. We know we need to make them accountable, but we should not totally depend on the government. We must do for ourselves. You're right, sis. We have to start our own businesses or support our own businesses. All right. No doubt. Absolutely. And and doing that again goes back to the knowledge of self, knowing who we are. All right. It's nothing anti-white or anti-Jewish or anti-America or anti-Europe or anti-Arab or anti-anything.
Right.
It's just knowing it's a natural thing. Everybody else does that. Sister Asia, when I travel throughout Jersey, in certain sections of Jersey, like Edison, Island, right? These are large Indian communities. Yes. Right? Large. You drive into the community, they have banks, supermarkets, little mom and pop stores, right?
They do.
Thriving.
Yeah.
Thriving. All right. And there's no protests.
Nope.
There's no rallies, right? They're just doing for themselves. But my point is this: the foundation of that is their culture, right? Right. They practice Hindu. Some of them are Hinduism. Some of them practice Islam, right? But they clear on the fact that they're Indians. All right. I'm talking about South Asian, and not our indigenous brothers and sisters, right? Not the people that Europeans call Indians over here, Native American. Right. I'm talking about South Asian brothers and sisters, and they're, like I said, they're clear on their culture. They speak English, and then sometimes they speak Hindi, and you don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? But I respect it, but it's sad. It makes me think about my own people, and I'm like, wow, it was illegal. It was illegal for Black people to speak an African language in America.
Exactly.
I want y'all to meditate on that for.
Doesn't that speak to how profound we are as a people? Right. And this is a moment to allow the audience to absorb that pride that you should have towards being Black. Because I've talked to so many people who have said, "Oh, I didn't feel comfortable being Black until 2020." That says a lot. It says two things to me. It says that you don't really know your history, which I understand why you don't. And then it also says to me that this society didn't make you feel safe. It didn't make you feel beautiful. It didn't make you feel like somebody. It didn't make you feel appreciated for everything that your ancestors have done to develop this great nation, as we're calling it today.
And I think too that Black people need to stop with the bashing of people who embrace who they are. Because I am a Black woman, I am proud to be who I am. I am honored to be a Black queen. And so don't down me because I'm confident in who I am and I understand my culture. Stop that. That comes from white supremacy, teaching you not to love who you are.
Right, absolutely. And that's why I just wanted us to I just want us to meditate on it. I'm going back to what I said, and I see the sister, she put Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. That's right. That song for that book is still relevant today. We're being totally miseducated in 2021. I want us to meditate on it. I'm talking about, I want y'all to think about this for a minute, Queens. It was illegal for us to speak an African language, right? It was illegal for us to be men, to be women, to have a family, to be married, right? I mean, everything that folks take for granted today, including many of our immigrant brothers and sisters. Like, you can come over here and speak. You can speak Urdu or Hindi or Arabic, right? And nobody gonna burn a cross in front of your lawn. They did that to us.
Exactly.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it was, punishable by the, check this out. I want y'all to think, and you're listening, I want y'all, please just meditate on this for a minute. It was illegal for us to read.
Yes.
To write, punishable by death. I'm gonna say that one more time. It was illegal in this country, in America, for Black people to read, to write, punishable by death. All right. So we had
look at this. Let me read what I'm sorry, Bashir. Let me just read one of the comments. Miss Kathy says we have Black people in jail and felonies for selling marijuana, but Caucasians own most dispensaries. Very correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Absolutely.
We took prayer out of school. Okay. We meet each other with a lack of love, which brings
yes, there you go. Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah.
And again, it's what Asia is what you just said when you said that, it's taught through white supremacy, and we may not be conscious of that. We may not be aware of that, but we need to become cognizant of what we're doing and why we're doing it. I think the biggest question is, why am I thinking this way? Like, you should question yourself from time to time. Why do you have these feelings towards certain situations? Why don't you feel that Black people should have reparations? You're Black. Why wouldn't you want an extra 20, 30, maybe $50,000? Who's going to turn away free money? What's creating that subconscious thought in your mind? It doesn't make any sense to me personally, but that's my opinion. I'm not going to pass down any money, whether I'm doing good or bad. I'm going to take it because that's one level up for my children in the future. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And if you don't need it or you feel like you're above it, why not give it to a family who can use it? I know everyone knows at least one family that can use an extra $20,000 or $30,000. Come on now.
Exactly. And let me throw something else out there. I'm sorry, Mr. Bashir. Like, wait a minute. I thought this was my segment. The sisters are going. You got to start it.
All right. We all in the. It's all relevant.
Something came to mind. This right here is slightly irrelevant, but still on topic, if that makes sense. So I just saw this rapper by the name of Lil Uzi Vert. Yeah, I think that's how you say his name. Yeah, this man just put a $24 million diamond in his forehead. And what I said to myself immediately when I saw that, because I was completely thrown off by reading this article. Look at Asia's face. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but this is crazy. $24 million. You could have took 24 different families and gave them $1 million each.
I mean,
Black families, of course, to help. And that's exactly where I'm going with even bringing that topic up, is that until we get our minds in order, we will never reach the place that we're trying to reach. And also, in terms of the reparations, if they give you $1 million each, what are you going to go do with it?
Right.
Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy?
Start strategizing with your business. That's what we need to do. Start strategizing.
Absolutely. All right.
Write down your ideas. Write down your thoughts. Figure out what you're going to do when you do make that million. Figure out ways of reinvesting that money, so that way going forward you can continue to make it and you don't just spend it.
Absolutely. And I also want to give a big shout out to Dr. Ron Daniels from the Institute for the Black World, 21st Century. He's one of the spokesmen, one of the leaders of the modern day reparations movement. In fact, his organization have a entire commission called the National African American Reparations Commission. Let me say that one more time. The National African American Reparations Commission, NAARC, NARC for short, not the police NARC, but reparations NARC, right? And there are about 10 demands that they're pushing forward to this country in terms of reparations for Black people. And if Queens, if you get a chance to check it out, and your listening audience, I'm sorry, please check it out, family. They talk about all these things and then some. I'm talking about it's probably the in my humble opinion, it is the most comprehensive reparation demand list I've ever seen in this country and in the world, no doubt. All right, and again, his organization is called the Institute for the Black World, 21st Century. All right, you can quickly go online and click on to his to his organization, and it'll show all the things that folks advocate. In fact, he's part of the group that pushed the HR 40, right? That is the reparations bill. What's the reparations bill for? It's pushing for a bill for reparations, but right now we're still at the very bottom. We folks are trying to get a study together. That's why Brother Coach that's why Brother Coach was asked to come to Capitol Hill on June 19, 2019. Right, he's a part of that movement. All right, and they've convinced brothers Ron Conyers, who passed away some years ago, to push HR 40. Now Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is taking up the mantle, and she's pushing for HR 40. We just got to keep putting the pressure on. We got to keep putting the pressure on. All right. I mean, again, you look at the disparities. It is troubling. Yes. But I want us to go back. Like I said, I just want us to meditate on that for a minute, family. I mean, we were taught in this country. You talking about self-hatred,
right?
They hate our black skin. They hate our kinky hair. They hate our full lips, our thick noses, right?
Yes. Yes.
You know, to hate the Black woman. All right. You know, the Black woman always get it.
Yeah.
Always.
Thank you for saying that. Oh, Brother Bashir, thank you so much for saying that.
It's the absolute truth. It is the absolute. We've all felt it. Asia and I both, and many other Black women too, whether they're willing to acknowledge it or not. We've all seen it. We've all felt it. And it's not a good feeling, especially considering how much we put on our backs each and every day.
I mean, look, the Black woman, listen, if it wasn't for the Black woman, I mean, the Black family would be lost, right? The Black woman has held the church down, right? And other religious institutions, not just the church, but almost all religious institutions. The Black woman is holding it down or holding it up, you know. The Black woman, you know, just recently we saw how the power of the Black woman in the Democratic for the presidential elections. We saw that Black women play a huge role in the Democratic Party, right? You know, and so, you know, if it wasn't for the Black woman, man, we'd be in bad shape. But the Black woman still gets the bad end of the stick. And you see it everywhere. You see it in pop culture. And it's deep because every other group take from the Black woman. They take the popping on the neck. You see other coaches popping their neck. You see other coaches wearing locks now and cornrows. And you talking about the shape, the curvaceousness of the Black woman.
Oh yeah, they're taking that now.
Right now, other groups taking that now. Well, back in the day, that was negative. Now, I want a big butt.
Let's be real. It was never ever really negative though, because even in slavery, there were so many interracial babies that were being made, biracial children, that it was ridiculous. You know, there's some people are related to great elite people that they don't even know if they were to trace back their lineage. So I think that, you know, it was all a mind game as even now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Trying to keep you down, because if you believe that you are nothing, so shall you be. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand through this podcast, is that we have so many great talents and attributes about ourselves. We definitely have so much to be proud of. This is not a way for me to, or for this platform to alienate any other race and the great contributions that they make. We pay homage and kudos to you guys every day. But what I would like to see is that you return the favor when it comes to Black History Month. One of the shortest months of the year, but may I add that as well. So you got to kind of look at these things for what it is and what it is face value, and not so much as speculatory or, well, maybe, no, this is exactly what it's been for the last 400 plus years from African Americans who came over from different places. They didn't all come from Africa. That's something else. That's another unknown truth that we don't know much about, because we don't talk about that in our everyday history classes. So when it comes to someone like you, Mr. Bashir, who's actually gotten into the school system, and you've been able to influence and really promote some real change, I think you're so dynamic in that regard, because there's so much that our children need to know. And had I known half the things that I know today, I would be a completely different person. And I would have taken a lot of the negativity in a very different way, because I would have known exactly who I am. And, you know, and at that point in time, I didn't know, you know, because I only knew what was conditioned and trained for me to know. And so I think people like you are extremely valuable, not just to the Black community, but to the entire world. So I definitely send you many blessings and continue blessings into every endeavor that you touch moving forward.
I'm honored, sister. And look, we're destroying all the stereotypes today.
That's right.
You know, they try to make it seem like the Black woman don't love the Black man and the Black man don't love the Black woman. That's not true. All right. That's not true. There are many Black women that love Black men, and many Black men that love Black women. All right. And guess what? We are marrying one another. You know, some people say, oh, it's interracial dating is taking over.
This is a great segue to say I'm wearing my shirt actually from Sisters Talk. Yes, I'm married. And I actually am married to a Black man that's from the Caribbean, and I love him dearly, and he loves me back. And I think it's important that whether you're married or not, but especially if you are, be proud. Be proud to be in your union, because it's a lot of people who wish that they could find that. And once you find it, appreciate it. I'm talking to my Black kings and queens right now, because it's so many disadvantages and so many challenges that we face every day in society. And so we only make it harder for each other when we don't respect each other, when we don't understand our own brokenness before we enter into something new with someone who doesn't deserve our scattered pieces. So we have to keep all that in mind. That's another segment for another day. But I just thought that was a great segue. And these shirts will be available on Valentine's Day.
Awesome. Ashe. I love it. I love it. I
also want to say that I have noticed that a lot of Black men are hiding their queens.
Yes.
And I think it's completely disrespectful if you are in a relationship with a man or a woman and they are not letting people know who you are. That is a red flag. It's a difference from being in a relationship and it's private than someone hiding you. You are a queen. You are a king. Please do not allow anyone to hide you.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. We're touching on so many powerful topics right now. That's true. You know, we can't hide our sisters. We shouldn't hide our sisters. We should be out and you know, and about with our relationships with our Black women, whether we married or not.
Right.
You know, we need to be out with it. And it's all right to show affection. I mean, I know that's a whole nother topic, you know what I'm saying? But
to be heard, you know.
Right. But yeah,
you know, you'll be coming back. You'll be coming back. So
I'm
Asia.
And I just wanted to say this too, since I'm gonna come back to what you said about Black History Month. You know, in reality, we need to celebrate Black history every day. I know you sisters know that. All right, 365 days a week, which I do. All right, I incorporate Black history in my history classes at Weequahic High School in Newark, New Jersey, every day. All day, all right. In the American and World History curriculum, I incorporate Black history into the curriculum at the school. And also we have our own Afrikana Studies course. All right, one of the few schools in the city of Newark to have a course like that. You know, so I wanted to say this too, that often when we talk about Black history, we start with slavery, right? If we didn't stress that, we need to stress that we start with slavery or colonialism or apartheid. We do not start our history with the great African civilizations, such as Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Nubia, Kush, Ethiopia, and Kemet, that the Europeans and Arabs call Egypt. All right, is actually the African name for Egypt is Kemet, and Kemet means, when it's defined in the Metu Neter, in the hieroglyphics, it means land of the blacks. All right, or the black land. All right. We don't begin with that. We don't even begin our history with Africa being the cradle now. Here we go. All right. We don't even begin our history with Africa being the cradle of humanity, civilizations, and religions. All right. Yes, the motherland. That's where we all come from, including, guess what? White folks, Arabs, Asians, right? It started in Africa, and we know this because scientists like Dr. Louis S.B. Leakey, you can look him up, family. His name is Dr. Louis S.B. Leakey, right? He was the first white man to find the oldest bones in 1959.
Yes.
In 1959 now, right? In the Olduvai Gorge in Kenya, right? But also, since this is a Black woman show, here we go again with some more history.
Are you talking about Lucy?
Yes. Later down the line, Dr. Donald C. Hanson, an American anthropologist, right? He found bones older than the one found in the Olduvai Gorge in 1974, and he named those bones Lucy. They were the bones of a Black woman. So we know for sure that the Black woman is what? The mother of civilization. We know that. If you don't know that, look him up. His name is Dr. Donald C. Johansen.
That mummified version of her curls were intact and everything.
Absolutely.
They were so springy.
Right.
I was like, wow, it's a fascinating thing to see,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, the Black woman is the mother of civilization. That's true, and we can't let no one take your history or disrespect. Let me go back to Mark. We must not let no one disrespect the Black woman. Straight up,
Thank you.
Straight up. All right, she's the mother of civilization, and we know that. Again, family, just look up Dr. Johansen. You don't take my word for it. Say that nigga goes crazy. All right,
not at all.
One of them, they got one of them Hoteps on the show, and he's talking some crazy stuff. All right, but if you look him up, his name is Dr. Donald C. Johansen. Right, he found the oldest bones in human history in Ethiopia in 1974, and he named it Lucy. In fact, he named Lucy after a song he was listening to by the Beatles called "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." All right, and he called the bones Lucy, and these bones are the oldest bones in human history of a Black woman, an African woman. All right.
Thank you. As you were speaking, I literally was like, I'll be talking about Lucy. Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much, because people do not understand. We are the originators of this world.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
But yet we're the least respected because we fear our power. Absolutely.
And again, when we were tuned into that power you're talking about, we created great civilizations. I mean, some of the genius, all right, are in ruins now, but it shows the genius of Black people or African people. Like when you go to Kemet, when you go to Egypt, you see the great pyramids. I mean, they're one of the 7 wonders of the world, right? Black people built them, not Jewish slave labor. No, that's not true. We have no documents. We have no evidence, no artifacts, no fossils, nothing to document that. We don't. All right. What we do have is that these pyramids were built thousands of years by black hands, right? Before there was even such things called Judaism, Christianity, or even Islam. These pyramids were built by us, and they found the graves. We got it. We got evidence. They found the graves of the people who built the pyramids. All right. I mean, scientists, Arabs, Europeans, American Egyptologists, black Egyptologists, white Egyptologists, they all agree. They say that these are where the bones are found. So my point is, we can go to places and see our genius. All right. We can go to Africa, and guess what? We go to West Africa, right? You can go to University of Saint Corey at Timbuktu. The building is still there. It was one of the greatest universities in the world. Europeans, Arabs, Asians, black people all around Africa used to come to University of Saint Corey at Timbuktu to study, right? Going back going back to Egypt, I almost forgot to mention that, that the city of Abydos is still there. You can go visit the place. It was the place where the world used to take its first spiritual pilgrimages at. All right. We say Hajj and all, when the Muslims before Hajj, before the spiritual centers were moved to different other places in the world, it first started in Africa. And one of the first respected spiritual centers in the world is called the city of Abydos. It's still there. I will be there, by the way. I'm going to Kemet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Live. Yes. My trip got
postponed. I want to go. Take me with you. Right. What's the ticket on the price?
I would love for you to go, sister. I like to go see these places. Like a couple of years ago, I went to Europe. I participated in this seminar, this history seminar called European History and the Holocaust, and the Jewish Holocaust. And we were going all around Europe, looking at the different historical sites and studying European history, and then about when the Nazis came on the scene and began to oppress Jewish people and other people in Germany. I learned that black people that living in Germany and Europe, they were mistreated by the Nazis as well.
Wow.
Gay and lesbian brothers and sisters were mistreated by the Nazis. Gypsies were mistreated by the Nazis. But my point is, I like to go to these places. All right. I don't just kind of just read it in a book. I try to go to these places. So a year ago, I was scheduled to go, but COVID broke out. So my trip got postponed. It got pushed back to July 2021. So God willing, I'll be in Kemet in Egypt in July studying. It's an educational seminar. I'll be there in there for half a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, studying. Yeah, 15 days. But I was gonna say also, we don't even have to we should go to Kemet, but if you can't go to Kemet, guess what? You want to see black genius? Just go to Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Right?
Washington, D.C. was created by Benjamin Banneker, one of the world's greatest mathematicians, right?
Yep.
He created that whole land, that whole district, Washington, D.C., right? And guess what? It was black hands that built what you now call the Capitol.
Yeah, exactly.
Black hands that built the White House, right?
I don't mean to interject, but I found a picture of the mummy. I don't think it's Lucy, but it's a different mummy that they found, and it was kind of like confirmation that the Egyptians were actually
black. Absolutely.
And I also put the article name below so that people can find the article. The article is right here. It's strawberrycurls.com, mummy with natural hair. Wow. And you see, that's our hair right there.
That's right.
No doubt.
Oh, that's powerful.
No doubt about that's our hair. I just wanted to show people so that they would know, they can put an image with what you're talking about. So
absolutely. That's powerful. And I was going to say that I used to teach lessons on how African Americans, how black people in America, African people in America, whatever you want to call yourself, how we built the White House. And my students just say, brother, hey, come on, brother. It's like, brother, come on. Like, nah, that's not true, right? That's not true. Guess what changed their mind? And I did this particular lesson because back in 2008, the country elected its first black president, right? Barack Obama. And so I wanted to create a lesson specifically for that year. And so I did these lesson plans about black hands building Washington, D.C. And my students, they struggled with it. They was like, no, Mr. A, that's not true. So I even though I was presenting all the evidence, but I'm telling you what changed their mind. It's good and sad at the same time. So our school, and big shout out to Weekway High School. Big shout out to Weekway Alumni Association, because they sponsored this program. They wanted all the students to watch the country's first black president to be sworn in. So we're in an auditorium and we're waiting, and CNN is, we're broadcasting CNN's news coverage, and CNN begins to go into the history of Washington, D.C. Do you know they started with what? Black folk. Do you know that? They talked about Benjamin Banneker building Washington, D.C. They talked about black hands building, and they showed a picture of black people pulling up the columns of the White House. Isn't that deep?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's a release, because we need to start telling our future the truth. Right. They didn't tell us. Our future deserves it.
Oh yeah, my students, they were blown. The next day they said, Mr. A, we owe you an apology. We owe you an apology, man. We thought you were making this stuff up. We didn't know. I said, it's all right, brother. I didn't know. I said, brothers and sisters, I said, I didn't know. We can go all the way back. We can go all the way back to Sister Aisya when she said, how did you get involved with the Amistad Movement? Again, it started when I graduated from college. It started with that. And thank God we were able to convince some elected officials to pass legislation. It was a long struggle, but they did pass legislation. Big shout out to Bill Payne, William Payne. He's the brother of the late Congressman Donald Payne Sr. And Craig Stanley, Assemblyman Craig Stanley. These two brothers were able to convince some folk in the state capitol that we needed to create the Amistad legislation to incorporate Black history into the social studies curriculum in the state of New Jersey. That is the law in the state of New Jersey. It's just unfortunate it took a lot of years after 2002 to get it established in Newark. That just happened this school year, 2020. All right, and I'm one of the members now of the Newark Public Schools.
Congratulations!
Yes,
that is awesome. Yes. Congratulations!
I say thank you.
We need it so bad. So thank you. Go ahead. Since you put up that picture of that sister, I wanted to say, please, brothers and sisters, if you get a minute, please purchase Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop's book, African Origins of Civilization, Myth or Reality. He was one of the greatest Egyptologists, one of the greatest scientists. He proved scientifically that ancient Kemetic or Egyptian people were Black people, were African people. All right, in this book here. All right. So if you get a minute, please check it out. I'm gonna mention the title again: The African Origins of Civilization, Myth or Reality. It was written by brother Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop. Sheikh Anta Diop is spelled CHEIKH, his middle name Anta, ANTA, and his last name is very simple, DIOP. Some people pronounce it as Diop, but it's really, when you pronounce it in the African language of Wolof, it's Diop. All right, and he passed away back in 1986, but he labored. I'm talking about this is one of the greatest minds the Black world has ever produced. This man got degrees on top of degrees. He went to white folks, he went to Sorbonne, he got degrees from them, and he came back and he proved that Egyptian people, Kemetic people, were in fact Black people. All right, not dark skinned white people, not Arabs, right? Not Asians, that they were African people. They were Black people. You know what's funny? I don't see how that's hard to believe, but we live in the world that we live in, so I'm not going to question that. But we definitely want to say thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir, for being a guest on the Sisters Talk podcast. You dropped gems the entire show. And I hope you guys out there that are listening were taking notes. And make sure you go get that book, The African Origins of Civilizations, Myths or Reality. And this is not just for Black people. And he has one more too, guys. It's not just for Black people to read this. I really encourage my non-Black viewers to go out and get copies of this book, because it will help you to understand our culture a little better, as we ourselves are learning more about our culture. Because to understand is to learn to gain some additional level of respect, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The more you know, the more you'll start respecting, because you'll see, wow, they really have contributed in a tremendous way to society. And we currently are still doing that. But for so many different reasons, due to law or through administrations or management, we can't always show you all we got. We can't show you our full potential always, due to all of the restrictions that we still have even in 2021. And that's the embarrassing, sad truth about the current state of our nation. So, Mr. Bashir, please give us the next book as well.
Yes, please. Brothers and sisters, please, if you get a minute, please purchase this book. It's called African People in World History. I'm going to say that one more time. African People in World History. It's written by Dr. John Henrik, Henrik Clarke, Clarke, right? It is only this. It's about 84 pages. It's not that long. It's not that long. I know a lot of folk, they don't like to read long books, right? It's only 84 pages, but it's packed with wisdom. Every single page has wisdom and an accurate account of our contributions to humanity, to civilizations, to religions, all religions on the planet Earth.
I love that.
And so let me read some of these comments. Oh, go ahead, Aisha. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying thank you. Go ahead. You're fine.
Mr. Richard says some folks find it hard to believe because they didn't do their research. I agree.
I agree.
Miss Shay says we need him back. Yes, we're definitely bringing Mr. Bashir back. She says she enjoyed the segment.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you. I'm honored, sister. I'm honored, Queen.
Richard says it's been hidden for so long. Now it shows itself to us. Woo. Well, anything done in the dark will come to light.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very important too that as a Black community, we need to stop doubting people who are telling us the truth. Just because you don't think it's true, because you were conditioned to believe something one way, does not mean that it's not true. Okay.
Absolutely.
Do your own research. Just like Richard said, it's very important for us to do our own research. And even when you do your research, you may not find it initially. Why? Because it's hidden for a reason.
Go ahead, sister. Go ahead, sister Asia. Talk.
AKA the algorithms have changed.
That's right. Talk. You firing me up right now.
Okay, look, we're going to have to start you up for segment 2 because we're coming to a close now. But definitely for everybody who tuned in, we always want to thank our listeners. We really do appreciate the support. Make sure you like, comment, share this video. As you can see, you're getting a humongous amount of knowledge. And yet, as you know, your health is your wealth, but also knowledge is wealth as well. So make sure you share that. You're getting that here on this show for absolutely free. And what it's going to do, it's going to boost your confidence because you're going to finally know who you really are. I mean, you really have to do your research, and we really thank you again. We can't say thank you enough, really, because you are such a great educator. I mean, even in your tone, some people who know a lot about Black history, it angers them. Right. And and they aren't always received well, but your spirit is so calm. I appreciate you for that, because there's some people who can't keep that calmness about them. And while I understand that sometimes it's not always productive, so I think that moving forward, and that's something I want to leave the audience with as well, as Black people, I understand we get upset. It's a place and time for everything. It's a time to cry, it's a time to be upset, all those great things. But for the most part, when we're trying to get other people from other races to understand, I think having a spirit of water and not soda water or pop, as y'all call it up north, is the best way to handle these tense conversations. Because one thing is for certain that I've noticed is that they're just simply not going to get it at first. Right. But if they have the will to want to learn more, then it's going to take your patience, it's going to take your understanding, it's going to take a little bit of kindness to relay that information repeatedly sometimes until they understand that.
Teach, Queen. That's right. Teach. That's what I'm talking about. And before I go, I want to give a big shout out to the organization that I represent in Newark and in the state of New Jersey. That's ASCAC. And ASCAC is the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. All right. Our president is Dr. Mario Beatty. And one of our vice presidents is our brother, Dr. Greg Carr from Howard University. Well, both of them teach at Howard University. They're both professors at Howard University. Great scholars, great activists, doing great work for ASCAC. Again, big shout out to ASCAC. We're doing great work. Oh, next Saturday, we're going to be doing an ASCAC Zoom social media study group. Next Saturday.
Well, maybe if Mr. Bashir would add me to his Facebook, then I could get you guys those fabulous links on my page. But since he has over 5,000 friends, he has to wait till somebody gets dropped or does something wrong before he adds the host of the Sisters Talk podcast. Wow. All right. I just want to put that in the universe.
When I piss somebody off and they get tired of me, they say, I don't want to deal with them Hoteps no more. All right. I can add you to it, sister. All right.
I'm kidding. Okay. I'm kidding.
Big shout out. And big shout out to Sister Talk podcast. All that. All right. Big shout out. Big shout out to Sister Talk podcast. Folks, listening to the audience, support Sister Talk. Support Sister Talk. Support Sister Talk. All right. You queens are powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Asante Sana. Thank you. That's Kiswahili for thank you very much. Asante Sana.
All this stuff with me the whole show was Hotep. Now I'm gonna be walking around talking about Hotep.
That's right, Hotep.
Aisya, do you have any final words at this time?
Yes, I do want to say, Bashir, thank you so much. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you here on the show, teaching us, educating us about our history, and just like Dannie said, just being so kind and gentle with your words and how you educate us is amazing. You have an amazing story to share with the world, and I'm so excited to have you to come back soon. So hopefully we can find some space where we can.
No problem.
To the audience, even though some of the things that you're hearing today and anything you may hear on the show later, it may not be something you're familiar with. Be open-minded. Don't automatically just jump to conclusions and say it's false or it's bad, it's wrong. Not necessarily the case, because things that are accurate when it comes to Black people are hidden. And it's not going to be something that you're going to find off your first research. It may take a little bit more to dig. So be kind, be generous with your knowledge and information, and be gentle to another Black person, because you don't know what they're going through. You may have someone in your neighborhood who you think just has an attitude, but maybe she just been having a rough month because of everything that's going on. So be kind.
I agree. Well said, Aisya. And you guys, gosh, we gave you a lot of Mr. Bashir gave you a lot of content. And I'm just super excited. I can't wait till I edit this. I'm not gonna edit anything out. I'm just gonna put it straight to YouTube. But I just want to again say that you are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing in these communities, and hopefully that will kind of spread and navigate to the South and to the West Coast as well, and Midwest, because I know they need it there as well. So definitely keep doing what you're doing. I want to thank our listeners one more time. I can't thank you guys enough. Make sure you share, because you guys are going to be that vessel to get his information out to the world. So definitely share this video. He dropped a lot of gems. For people who are not of Black descent, don't just go past this video just because you feel like, talking about Black people stuff. Yes, we are, but you definitely want to get tuned in, try to understand what we're talking about, and try to get at our level of perception, because sometimes it's about perception too. And when you do that, it'll help you to understand some of our struggles that we're still facing. I know before 2020, a lot of people didn't think that racism was still alive, and we see now that it definitely is alive and well. And so now that you have that information, I think it's only right as an adult to go ahead and do the necessary research that's needed for you to further understand this culture, which is the African American culture. We have a lot against us, but we've come so far, and we're just going to keep on taking strides. So again, thank you, Brother Bashir. We'll see you guys next Sunday. We are going to have chiropractor Dr. Nestle Clerge, DC. He is a chiropractor in Washington, DC area. And man, he has over 30,000 followers on YouTube. I was happy to grab some of his time earlier today. So that segment will air on Valentine's Day, because you already know self-love is the best love on Sisters Talk. And we'll see you then, you guys. So make sure you like, comment, share. We'll see you next Sunday.
Hotep,
everybody.
Hotep.
Let's say it together. 1, 2, 3. Hotep. Oh, y'all gotta do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Hotep. Oh, I'm done with y'all. Y'all so laggy. Bye, y'all.